What do you dislike about school? Bathroom rules. Just let me pee. Teachers are teaching us to act like responsible adults, yet we still have to ask them to use the bathroom. The amount of unnecessary work and classes I am forced to take. The amount of stress I got to undertake just to end up having an entry-level job, or better yet having to pay so much in tuition while starving on campus just so they can tell me, we changed your requirements for graduation so you gotta take more bulls. In summary, I just hate having to show up to that bulls before I can make any money in my chosen field. The fact that I spent 2 years in college learning everything I should have learned in high school proved to me that high school was a complete waste of time. I could have used those extra years doing more in my field. Back when I went to school, I really disliked the bathroom. The mirrors had been shattered and removed years before I started going to school. The chain that activated the flush had broken so many times you pretty much had to step on the throne to flush. Also, there was no lid and no seat on the throne, no toilet paper. We all took our tissues to the bathroom, no hand sanitizer. Some people took soap with them. The doors had the locks broken as well, so we went in pairs. One holds the door and one does their business. Lots of graffiti, but fortunately the bathroom didn't smell so bad. The maintenance people did their best. All in all, I learned to go before leaving home and go again after arriving home, 6 hours later. Accidental or not, teaching students that failure is wrong. Ingraining the fear of failure over actually learning. Accidental or not, teaching students that their worth is measured by their productivity. School takes over students' lives when they are supposed to have fun or explore their own interest. Admittedly, it's very, very difficult to find that fine line where you're teaching students how to be productive members of society and develop critical thinking skills while also not instilling your worth as a person is measured by your contribution to class and how good you are at these specific things. Even in my field, music, I struggle with this often while I teach. The fact I graduated years ago and still wake up thinking I have an end of term paper due that I haven't started yet and just ignored all semester. Yet, I'm in my mid-30s and I will occasionally have a dream like that. Usually it's a test I have that I didn't study for. All the freaking lies. In elementary school, it was if you don't handwrite your work, you'll get a 0 in high school, or you can't do math in pen, you'll get 0 in high school, or you have a permanent record that follows you to university or college, or I am not repeating what the homework was because in high school they won't repeat things that you miss for you. Worst lie of all was teachers don't have favorites. Yes, you freaking do. The who's your favorite thing was always met by a joking don't worry, I hate you all equally. As long as I got A's and B's, any extenuating circumstances in my life weren't a concern to them no matter how much it impacted my mental health. Same thing happened to me and my best friend. Didn't give a crap about our mental health because our grades were good. Both of us went to the guidance counselor for help only to be brushed off because we did well in school. Just because we're fine in one area doesn't mean we aren't struggling in another area. Former college professor here. I might return to teaching at some point in my career, but I'm working elsewhere for now. My philosophy as a teacher was that I was ready to give A's to 100% of my students if they performed well. I did not grade on a curve. I believe that students should not be competing against their peers. They should be trying to master the material. With that said, here's what I disliked about school as an instructor. 1. Students who would not come to me for help with problem sets, even though I had flexible office hours, and would personally reach out to students by email if I knew they were having trouble. 2. Students who plagiarize in their final projects, and there were a lot of them. Seriously, folks, the school told you they used Turnitin. We will know. How bullies got 0 consequences for their actions, and only the bullied were punished. It took me almost a decade to learn to love myself, even with the help of my family. I hated being chaperoned all the time, hated being grouped in with kids who refused to mature, peaking mainly of high school, adults watching our every move and making sure we're in a safe environment, that is, school dances and such. I mean, I get it, I just felt like for me it wasn't really needed, and I hated the sheltered feeling as I was never sheltered early on and maybe saw too much and grew up a little faster. So around high school I was living in a different household where they'd try to shield me from the world and I found it ridiculous. High school was the same way. This all sounds like a me problem, I know, but these are just my thoughts about it, lol. I know what you mean. I'm still in high school though. I guess things feel less legit and kind of more awkward when we're basically being babysat by teachers all the time. As a teacher, 1. Wasted time. 2. Starts too early. 3. Kids not being held accountable for their actions when it is beyond my control. 4. Homework. Not a fan as a math teacher, but it is somewhat a necessary evil. Learning isn't about discovering and growing like it should be. It's about memorizing information and then passing a test. It takes the fun out of learning and makes it obligatory. The fact that I'm constantly surrounded by horrible people. As a former high school teacher, I think this is the worst part too. I'd have a class of 90% great to average students, but the 10% who were total psychos would frequently ruin everything for everyone. Pretty much everything. My high school does have some good teachers, but I loathe the stress. I loathe the waking up early. I also loathe the assignments they're given when all the due dates are on the same week. I also dislike the fact that my parents undermine me when I have issues with the school system. I love my parents, but school just sucks. The people there. I got beaten almost every day I was there. Had my wrist broken by a bully slamming my arm in a door and kicking it. Still have scars. Had black eyes, bruises and bloody noses. Thing is, I loved to learn. I loved the lessons and the new stuff I got to learn every day, but it was overshadowed by the fact it was a prison I was kept in and got beaten down constantly. School should take the bully thing more seriously, I guess. Everything. Waking up butt crack early, especially during the colder months, and riding on a bus with little to no heating. Standing outside of school for an hour, which again sucks more when it's cold and your choice of coat is limited by a uniform policy. Going through 7-8 hours of classes that not even teachers seemed enthused to go through. And if you're really unlucky, one with a major attitude problem who will gladly punish entire classes for the actions of one or two smartasses. Students who look for anything to insult you over. Shoes, interests, not having sex at age 14. With no way to actually avoid these people, and faculty who won't do anything to tell kids, hey, stop being an butthole. Can't defend yourself if a fight starts, because then zero tolerance policies kick in. Long bus rides home, hours of homework, parents berating you over bad grades, and restless sleep as you get ready for the next day. Frick all that. This is the most accurate reply I've read here. That so often, I don't really learn anything because there's so much work to do. I memorize and do what I need to get the mark I want on my tests and assignments and immediately have to move on to the next thing. My marks are great, better than they've ever been, in fact, but they don't reflect actual understanding of the material. And what kills me is that I actually want to understand the material. I'm picking classes with the intention that they'll benefit my learning and make my degree worthwhile. But the amount of work I have to do with all my other classes and commitments prevents me from getting a chance to sit down and actually absorb the material. Teachers not wanting to answer a question about why something is the way it is because that's just how it works. Sometimes a little background information actually helps to understand what is being thought, and info also helps to spark interest. The fact that the way students are taught hasn't really changed in over 100 years. Sit still at a desk for the majority of the day, listening to receive info with prescribed subjects regardless of future usefulness. Despite the fact that we know many people have such varied learning styles and needs. Also very little consideration for what skills and knowledge may be needed in the next 50 years in the workforce. The whole core of the system needs to change. The whole concept is just flawed, and I don't see who benefits from it. Everyone would benefit if we would improve it, but not a single person gives a crap about it apparently. Bad teachers. Specifically those that have weird grading policies, and those that are super harsh with grading despite not even teaching how to do it properly. Looking at you English teachers. One time my class had a geography teacher who, when she realized that she missed out a quarter of the curriculum, decided to teach it to us by giving us sheets with questions for a single half-hour lesson. No wonder 90% of the class failed. The year before 80% of the entire year failed because they set up the exam as a Kahoot during COVID. I hated the fact that without fail, there is always that one teacher who just wants to push everyone's buttons and would feel something other than the emptiness they feel inside when they see their students finally snap. I'm glad I graduated. Tons and would feel something other than the emptiness they feel in. Frick that teacher. College is making you take gen ed classes that have nothing to do with your major to milk you for your money for 4 years. A degree for standard business would only take 2 years without all the bulls. The courses you take in business degrees are kind of bulls anyways. Take it from someone who knows plenty of people who did these degrees and hardly used half of the major requirements anyways. Is it strange that I want to enroll a college again even if it costs me approximately $30,000 at least? I love being a student. You can take community college for much cheaper if you just want to be a student. Heck, even many universities have extension and professional programs you can take and pay per unit. I've since graduated, but I can't stand how hot it gets in most schools. Oftentimes most people couldn't even wear warm clothing to school during winter. I live in Michigan, for context, because it was that bad. I get that the way the buildings are designed to keep all the heat in, but it always felt like overkill to the worst degree. The horrible sex education system. At least in America, it's basically just, don't have sex. And if you do, don't, sex will give you AIDS and then you'll die! ! One freaking bugs me. Jokes on them. You can't get AIDS from sexual intercourse. Grades. They just turn school into a stress-inducing nightmare. I love learning, but my school is hyper-focused on these stupid arbitrary numbers that stress me out so much. It forces you to have to care more about things that you are less passionate about, leaving you with little time to engage with your passions. I literally could have taken an astronomy class, a subject that I absolutely adore, but it automatically made me take AP chemistry so that I can finish the subject. Focus of success on standardized tests instead of real-world success. I feel like I barely stumbled through getting a mortgage to buy my first home, but oh boy, my multiple choice skills are on point. The fact that it killed my love of reading. I used to love reading chapter books when I was a kid, and in kindergarten would spend my time doing that during the free time. Then at around 7 or 8, when it became mandatory to read certain books and then do boring reports on them, it absolutely killed my love for it. I didn't start reading for pleasure again until I was about 21 or 22. 1 tons of useless studying and homeworks. 2 tons of useless and boring lessons about subjects that are neither useless nor boring. 3 incompetent teachers or teachers who are drunk on power. 4 the general waste of time. 5 the great amounts of stress over things that are unimportant in the long run, and sometimes even the day afterwards. 3/4 of school is government funded babysitting. You aren't actually learning that much that fast. They fill up the time with pointless tasks because a lot of them don't really care about making it engaging. I think it's something like 2 hours a day is anything that's actually improving your education. Wasting my time turning classes into something nearing political party gatherings and encouraging high grades with little to no payoff. The endless amount of homework. I get the idea behind it, so it tests your knowledge of what you're learning, but many times it's taken too far. Something I deeply dislike about it is the frequent stress. It seems like teachers enjoy watching the students getting anxious about assignments test, when in reality, it doesn't affect the grade. It's just unnecessary and unhealthy. The second thing that comes to mind is when the teachers don't plan the test together. It always results in having 2 tests in a day. It's so stupid. When I was in school, it was always group work. Teachers would justify it by saying you're going to have to learn to work with people for when you get to the real world. Curriculum outdated. does actually teach the child anything, and it prepares you for a completely outdated and irrelevant standard test that it's less effort to cheat on, resulting in no motivation to retain any of the knowledge throughout the lessons. Even in college working on bachelor's, you're getting irrelevant information that you'll never use in a real world setting so you can pass a random book definition test. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.